What if I told you that the price you see on a dealership sticker is only half the story? The truth about what dealers actually pay for trucks will shock you, and it's not what you think. Imagine this, dealership lots overflowing with F-150s, Broncos, and Rangers parked so tightly they're spilling into grassy fields. Meanwhile, manufacturers are cutting production on some of their most popular models. What's really going on here? This isn't just about unsold vehicles, it's about a hidden pricing game that dealerships don't want you to know about. How much do dealerships really pay for these trucks? Why are some vehicles selling out while others gather dust? And how does this secret pricing strategy impact what you pay? Stay tuned, because what we're about to uncover will change how you think about buying a car, and it's information you can't afford to miss. What's happening? Picture this, a sea of F-150, Broncos, and Rangers parked so tightly that some lots are spilling over onto grassy fields. Once red-hot sellers, these vehicles now sit like forgotten relics of a bygone era. That's the reality of Ford's inventory crisis. It's not just about unsold cars, it's a symptom of a deeper issue that's reshaping the car market as we know it. But what's really going on here? Let's start with the big picture. Take a stroll through a Ford dealership today, and you'll see the evidence. Rows upon rows of unsold vehicles stacked like dominoes. The once celebrated Bronco, a car that had people lining up to buy it just a year ago, now looks more like a liability than a triumph. F-150, the backbone of Ford's truck legacy, sit idle in long lines. It's a stark contrast to the days when these trucks barely touched the lot before a buyer snapped them up. But what changed? Ford's inventory problem isn't unique, but it's one of the most visible. Dealers are feeling the squeeze as overproduction meets cooling demand, forcing them to make tough decisions. And it's not just about unsold cars taking up space, it's about the costs these vehicles carry. Every day a car sits unsold, the dealership pays for it. Floor plan expenses, maintenance, and opportunity costs pile up, turning these unsold vehicles into financial drains. But why did this happen, and what does it mean for Ford's most loyal buyers? The cycle of popularity. Every vehicle has a life cycle, a period when it's the darling of the car world, followed by a decline as demand wanes. For the Bronco, that life cycle seemed unstoppable when it relaunched to fanfare and long waiting lists, but as quickly as it rose, it fell. The Maverick, on the other hand, tells a different story. Affordable, compact, and practical, this little truck defies the trend. While Broncos and F-150s gather dust, Mavericks remain a rare sight on dealership lots, because they sell out almost as soon as they arrive. Why the difference? It all comes down to affordability and timing. The Maverick's starting price of $25,000 put it within reach of the average buyer, while Broncos and Raptors with inflated MSRPs pushed past $50,000, $60,000, even $90,000. Ford's miscalculation of demand didn't just affect its sales figures, it damaged its reputation. Vehicles that were once aspirational became unattainable for many, leaving buyers frustrated and dealers overstocked. And here's the kicker, dealers don't want to sell affordable cars, they want to sell high-ticket models. Why? Let's break it down. Why dealers prefer high-ticket models. Dealers are businesses, and like any business, their goal is to maximize profit. Selling a $90,000 Bronco Raptor or a fully loaded F-150 nets them far more than selling a $28,000 Maverick. Here's how it works. For every high-ticket vehicle sold, the dealer pockets a larger margin, not just from the sale itself, but also from manufacturer incentives. These below-the-line bonuses, like holdback, floor plan assistance, and marketing incentives, are calculated as percentages of the MSRP. The higher the price tag, the bigger the bonus. This creates a misalignment between what customers want and what dealers push. Buyers are looking for affordability, but dealers have little incentive to prioritize vehicles like the Maverick when they can make significantly more profit from a Bronco or an F-50. Heck, this strategy might make sense for the dealership's bottom line, but it creates frustration for buyers who just want a reliable, reasonably priced vehicle. But what about those incentives? What's really going on behind the scenes, and how does it impact you? Hidden dealer profits. To understand why dealers push high-priced models, we need to look at the concept of below-the-line money. This isn't the profit you see on the invoice. It's the hidden bonuses that manufacturers offer dealers for hitting certain targets or selling specific vehicles. For example, holdback is a percentage of the MSRP that manufacturers pay dealers after a sale, effectively boosting their profit. Floor plan assistance offsets the costs of keeping inventory on the lot, and marketing funds help dealers advertise without dipping into their own budgets. Here's where it gets interesting. These incentives can add up to 5 or 6% of a vehicle's MSRP, significantly boosting the dealer's profit margin. On a $90,000 Bronco Raptor, this can mean thousands of dollars in additional profit. But for a $28,000 Maverick, the incentives shrink accordingly, making it far less attractive for the dealership to sell. So what are dealers really paying for these vehicles, and how does it affect the prices you see? Unveiling invoice pricing. For many buyers, the term sticker price is where the car buying conversation begins and ends. But behind that bright sticker in the dealership window lies a complex pricing structure that most people never see. The sticker price, or manufacturer's suggested retail price, is just the surface of what a vehicle actually costs. To truly understand what a dealership pays and profits, we need to delve into invoice pricing. Invoice pricing is the amount the dealership pays the manufacturer for a vehicle. At first glance, you might think this is the real cost, but the reality is more nuanced. Manufacturers layer on additional incentives and discounts behind the scenes, ensuring that the invoice price is not the final word on dealer expenses or profits. Take the Ford Bronco Big Bend as an example. Its manufacturer's suggested retail price might be around $46,000, but the invoice price could be closer to $43,000. This $3,000 gap is just the beginning. Add in holdback bonuses and other incentives, and suddenly the dealer's effective cost drops even further. For buyers, this means the price on the window isn't necessarily the price a dealership expects to get. It's merely a starting point for negotiations, and often those negotiations are stacked against the buyer's favor. The Raptor example. The Bronco Raptor offers a fascinating case study in how pricing dynamics shift with premium models. This rugged, high-performance version of the Bronco carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price starting at $90,000. On paper, it looks like a goldmine for dealerships, and to some extent, it is. Let's break it down. The base invoice price for a Bronco Raptor might hover around $87,000, meaning a gross margin of $3,000 if sold at the manufacturer's suggested retail price. But dealerships rarely stop there. Add-ons like custom packages, dealer-installed accessories, and extended warranties can push the sticker price higher, increasing both their profits and the cost to the buyer. However, this is where hidden incentives come into play. Manufacturers reward dealers with holdback payments, which are typically calculated as a percentage of the manufacturer's suggested retail price. For a $90,000 vehicle, this could mean thousands of dollars in additional profit. Combine that with bonuses for meeting sales targets, and the total profit margin grows exponentially. For the dealership, the Bronco Raptor is a win, but for buyers, these layers of pricing can make the process feel opaque and unfair. How do you negotiate when the true cost is obscured by incentives and markups? It's a game where the odds are stacked against the average customer. Manufacturer incentives and their role. To understand why invoice pricing can be so misleading, we need to examine the incentives manufacturers offer their dealers. These incentives are not visible to customers, yet they play a massive role in how dealerships price and prioritize their inventory. One key incentive is the holdback payment, typically around 2 to 3% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price. This payment is essentially a rebate from the manufacturer to the dealer after the sale, providing a hidden boost to the dealership's profit margin. For a high-ticket vehicle like the Bronco Raptor, that 2 to 3% can translate into thousands of dollars in profit. Another major incentive is floor plan assistance, which helps dealerships offset the cost of financing their inventory. Vehicles don't sit on lots for free. Dealerships pay to keep them there, and floor plan assistance ensures those costs don't eat too deeply into profits. For vehicles that sell quickly, this assistance can become pure profit, making high turnover models even more attractive to dealers. Then there's marketing support. Manufacturers often provide funds to help dealers advertise specific models, ensuring those vehicles get the spotlight in local and regional campaigns. While this benefits both parties, it skews dealership priorities toward vehicles that qualify for the most marketing dollars. Together, these incentives create a system where the sticker price is only part of the story. For dealers, it's not just about what they sell a car for, it's about the cumulative benefits they receive for selling it. The hidden cost to consumers. At first glance, you might think these hidden incentives benefit the customer. After all, they allow dealerships to offer discounts and negotiate better deals. But the reality is more complicated. These incentives encourage dealerships to prioritize high-margin vehicles, often at the expense of affordability. Models like the Ford Maverick, which start at a budget-friendly $25,000, may not qualify for the same level of incentives as a $90,000 Bronco Raptor. As a result, dealers are less motivated to stock or promote these entry-level vehicles, leaving customers with fewer options. For the average buyer, this creates a frustrating dynamic. You walk onto the lot looking for an affordable vehicle, only to be upsold on a higher-priced model that fits the dealer's profit goals better than your budget. Even when incentives allow for price reductions, those discounts are often applied selectively, making it harder to find a good deal on the vehicle you actually want. The structure also reinforces a perception problem. When customers see significant discounts on high-end models, it raises questions about the fairness of pricing. If a $90,000 Bronco Raptor can be discounted by $5,000, why is a $28,000 Maverick being sold at full price? This disconnect erodes trust between customers and dealerships, creating a sense of skepticism that lingers long after the sale. For Ford, and for the industry as a whole, this is a challenge that can't be ignored. The disconnect between MSRP and value. The concept of the manufacturer's suggested retail price has always been contentious. While it provides a baseline for pricing, it often has little to do with the actual value of the vehicle or what the dealership expects to make from it. For buyers, this disconnect creates confusion. A car's sticker price is meant to convey its worth, but when that price is subject to discounts, incentives, and markups, it loses its meaning. Customers are left wondering, what is this car actually worth and how much should I be paying? Dealerships, for their part, rely on this ambiguity to maximize profits. By anchoring negotiations around the manufacturer's suggested retail price, they create a perception of value that often benefits them more than the customer. And while invoice pricing offers a glimpse behind the curtain, it's only part of the story. For customers to truly understand what they're paying for, transparency is key. Tools that reveal invoice pricing, hold back payments, and other incentives can level the playing field, giving buyers the information they need to negotiate effectively. But until such transparency becomes the norm, the pricing game will remain heavily tilted in favor of the dealership. At the end of the day, this isn't just about what dealerships pay for trucks. It's about how those costs shape the car buying experience for everyone. When pricing structures favor high-margin vehicles, customers looking for affordable options are often left out in the cold. But there's hope. As more buyers demand transparency and use tools to uncover hidden costs, the industry is slowly being forced to adapt. The question is whether those changes will come fast enough to bridge the growing gap between what customers want and what dealerships prioritize. The next time you walk onto a dealership lot, take a closer look at those rows of unsold vehicles. They tell a story, not just about the cars themselves, but about the system that puts profits ahead of people. And understanding that story is the first step to changing it. The affordability problem. In the current car market, affordability isn't just a buzzword, it's the driving force behind many buying decisions. Customers are no longer drawn solely to flashy features or high-tech gadgets. Instead, they're asking a simple yet critical question: what can I actually afford? The Ford Maverick is a perfect example of how affordability shapes demand. With a starting price of $25,000, this compact pickup truck offers incredible value. It's practical, fuel-efficient, and versatile enough to appeal to a wide range of buyers. For many, it represents something rare in the automotive world, a new vehicle that doesn't feel like a financial stretch. Compare that to the Bronco, which often comes with a sticker price north of $50,000, or the F-Series trucks, where premium trims can exceed $90,000. For buyers who are already grappling with rising interest rates and inflation, these prices are daunting. Monthly payments on these vehicles often climb into ranges that most families simply cannot justify. This affordability gap isn't just a problem for buyers, it's a problem for Ford. By focusing on high-margin vehicles, the company risks alienating a large segment of its customer base. The Maverick shows there's a market for affordable options, but Ford's production priorities don't reflect this. The Maverick remains scarce on dealership lots, while Broncos and Raptors sit in overstock, a testament to the mismatch between what Ford offers and what its customers need. What customers want. If you ask car buyers what they value most, the answers are surprisingly consistent: reliability, affordability, and practicality. Flashy features and cutting-edge technology are nice to have, but they rarely top the list of priorities for the average consumer. This is where the disconnect becomes apparent. Automakers, Ford included, often focus on producing vehicles that maximize profitability rather than meeting the actual needs of their customers. The emphasis on high-end trims, extensive customization options, and premium pricing leaves many buyers feeling ignored. Take, for instance, the Ford Maverick versus the Bronco. The Maverick is the epitome of a no-frills vehicle. It's not designed to turn heads or dominate social media feeds. It's built to get the job done without breaking the bank. Meanwhile, the Bronco is marketed as a lifestyle vehicle, complete with off-road capabilities and rugged aesthetics that appeal to a specific niche. But here's the problem. While the Bronco may win style points, it doesn't address the needs of the majority of buyers. Most people aren't looking for a vehicle that can climb mountains or cross rivers. They're looking for something that can reliably get them to work, handle weekend errands, and fit comfortably into their budget. This disconnect is costing Ford more than sales. It's costing them goodwill. Customers don't just want vehicles, they want to feel understood. And right now, too many buyers feel like their voices are being drowned out by the roar of high horsepower engines and premium price tags. Price transparency and negotiation. One of the biggest frustrations for car buyers is the lack of transparency in pricing. Walking into a dealership feels like stepping into a negotiation minefield, where every price tag is just a starting point for an opaque and often exhausting process. This is where tools like invoice pricing come into play. By revealing what dealerships actually pay for vehicles, these tools empower buyers to negotiate with confidence. But even with this information, many customers still find themselves at a disadvantage. Why? Because invoice pricing doesn't account for the hidden incentives and bonuses that dealerships receive. Consider this: a buyer armed with invoice pricing might walk into a dealership and confidently negotiate a sale price close to the dealership's cost. On the surface, it seems like a win, but behind the scenes, the dealership is still making thousands of dollars in holdback payments, floor plan assistance, and marketing bonuses. The buyer feels like they've scored a great deal, but the dealership walks away with a healthy profit margin. This imbalance highlights the need for greater transparency. If customers understood the full scope of dealership incentives, they'd be in a better position to negotiate not just a fair price, but an informed one. Until that happens, the negotiation process will remain one-sided, with dealerships holding most of the cards. The disconnect between dealers and buyers. At its core, the car buying experience should be a partnership between the dealership and the customer. After all, both parties share a common goal: to finalize a sale. But in practice, this partnership often feels lopsided, with dealerships prioritizing profits over customer satisfaction. This disconnect is most evident in the way dealerships handle inventory. As discussed earlier, dealers have little incentive to stock or promote affordable vehicles like the Ford Maverick. Instead, they focus on high-margin models that maximize their profits, even if those vehicles don't align with what customers want. The result is a frustrating experience for buyers. You walk onto a lot looking for a practical, budget-friendly vehicle, only to be met with upselling tactics that push you towards something far more expensive. Even if you manage to find an affordable option, you're left wondering if you've truly gotten the best deal or if the system has worked against you. For dealerships, this approach might make sense in the short term, but it's a risky strategy in the long run. Customers who feel taken advantage of are unlikely to return, and in an age of online reviews and social media, their dissatisfaction can quickly spread. Building trust isn't just the right thing to do, it's good business. And right now, the car buying process is eroding that trust at an alarming rate. The customer's voice. If there's one thing the current car market proves, it's that customers aren't passive participants in this process. They're vocal, informed, and increasingly unwilling to accept the status quo. From online forums to social media campaigns, buyers are making their voices heard, and automakers would do well to listen. One recurring theme in customer feedback is the demand for more affordable options. Vehicles like the Ford Maverick are proof that there's a market for practicality over prestige. Buyers want cars that fit their lives and budgets, not just the manufacturer's profit goals. Another common complaint is the lack of price transparency. Customers are tired of feeling like they're being kept in the dark. They want to know what they're paying for and why, without having to navigate a maze of incentives, markups, and hidden costs. Finally, buyers are calling for a more personalized approach. They want dealerships to ask, "What do you need?" rather than telling them, "Here's what you should buy." This shift from a transactional mindset to a customer-centric one could transform the car buying experience for the better. The disconnect between dealerships and buyers isn't just a problem for Ford, it's a problem for the entire automotive industry. As long as the system prioritizes profits over people, the frustration and mistrust will continue to grow. But there's hope. By listening to customers and adapting to their needs, Ford and its competitors have an opportunity to rebuild trust and redefine what it means to buy a car. For now, the ball is in their court, and for buyers, the best defense is information, understanding how pricing works, what incentives are at play, and how to negotiate effectively can help level the playing field. The car market is changing, slowly but surely, and with enough pressure from informed, vocal buyers, it might just change for the better. Lessons from the Maverick. The Ford Maverick stands as a shining example of what happens when an automaker truly listens to its customers. Affordable, efficient, and versatile, it offers everything the average buyer is looking for in a truck. Its starting price of around $25,000 breaks through the inflated price barriers that have become standard in the automotive world. But the Maverick isn't just a success because of its price tag. It's a vehicle that understands its purpose. It doesn't try to be everything to everyone. It's a practical workhorse designed for real-life needs. The simplicity is part of its charm, and it's a lesson Ford and other manufacturers should take to heart. Success doesn't have to come with premium features and sky-high prices. Yet, the Maverick is also a cautionary tale. Ford's inability to meet demand for the Maverick shows that they underestimated just how much buyers were yearning for a vehicle like this. While dealerships are flooded with unsold Broncos and F-150s, the Maverick remains scarce, its popularity outstripping production. The imbalance is a stark reminder of the gap between customer needs and corporate priorities. Manufacturer adjustments. While Ford has struggled to align its inventory with demand, other manufacturers are beginning to take notice. Stellantis, for example, recently announced a price cut for its Jeep Gladiator, lowering the manufacturer's suggested retail price by $3,000 for the newest model year. This kind of adjustment acknowledges the realities of a saturated market and shows a willingness to adapt. These changes are about more than just clearing inventory. They're a response to the shifting expectations of buyers. With rising interest rates and economic uncertainty, customers are less willing to stretch their budgets for vehicles that feel overpriced or unnecessary. Price cuts like Stellantis's are a signal to buyers that manufacturers are paying attention. But price cuts alone won't solve the problem. Automakers need to focus on producing vehicles that people actually want to buy. That means prioritizing affordability, practicality, and efficiency over luxury and excess. The Maverick has proven that this approach works. Now it's up to Ford to replicate that success across its lineup. Why this matters to you. At the end of the day, the car market isn't just about manufacturers and dealerships. It's about the people who drive these vehicles every day. Buyers like you are the ones footing the bill for inventory mismanagement, inflated prices, and a system that often puts profits ahead of people. But here's the good news. Your voice matters. Every purchase decision you make sends a message to manufacturers about what you value. When you choose vehicles like the Maverick, you're telling Ford and the entire industry that affordability and practicality are non-negotiable. The future of the car market isn't set in stone. It's being shaped every day by the choices of informed buyers. By demanding transparency, prioritizing value, and holding manufacturers accountable, you have the power to influence the direction of the industry. The automotive industry is at a crossroads, and what happens next will depend on manufacturers, dealerships, and buyers like you. Will the system evolve to prioritize customer needs, or will it continue to operate as business as usual? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Ford is on the right track with models like the Maverick, or are they missing the mark by focusing too heavily on high-ticket vehicles? What changes would you like to see in the car buying experience?